Your FDA submission just got rejected. Not because your device doesn't work, not because your data is weak, but because you made one assumption that just cost you 6 months and $500,000. I am going to show you the single biggest mistake medical device founders make with FDA submissions, and it's so obvious that almost everyone misses it. Here's what most founders think when they submit to the FDA. These are smart people. They have PhDs. They review medical devices all day. They'll understand our technology. Wrong. And that assumption is killing your timeline. I recently came across a LinkedIn discussion that blew up in the regulatory affairs community. A former FDA insider, someone who spent almost a decade at the agents, dropped some truth bombs that every founder needs to hear. And the comments, former FDA reviewers, regulatory consultants, QA directors, they all confirmed the same thing. There's a massive gap between what founders think the FDA knows about their device and what reviewers actually know. Let me break it down for you. Here is what founders assume. The FDA reviewer assigned to your submission is an expert in your therapeutic area. They've seen dozens of devices, just like yours. They understand the competitive landscape. They know why you made certain design choices. Here is the reality. Your FDA reviewer might be a PhD in biomedical engineering who has never seen a device like yours. They might be a clinician who's never worked in your therapeutic area. They're generalists. By necessity, the FDA reviews thousands of device types. No one can be an expert in everything. One regulatory expert put it perfectly. They might have a PhD in biomedical engineering, but have never seen a device like yours. They might be a clinician who's never worked in your therapeutic area. This isn't a criticism of FDA staff. They're smart people doing hard work. But founders walk in expecting the FDA to understand the nuances, the competitive landscape, why you made certain design choices, how the technology actually works. They won't. Not automatically. And this is where companies bleed time and money. Let's talk about what this costs you. When you submit a device, assuming the reviewer already knows your context, here's what happens. Round 1, you submit. The reviewer doesn't understand your rationale for a design choice. Deficiency letter. You respond 60 to 90 days. Gone. Round 2. Your explanation raises new questions because you still didn't provide enough context. Another deficiency letter. Another 60 to 90 days. Round 3. You're now 6 months behind schedule. Your investors are getting nervous. Your competitor just got approved. And here's the kachunan of this was about the safety or efficacy of your device. So, what's the fix? Write your submission like you're explaining it to a brilliant person who's seeing this for the first time. Because you probably are. Here's what this looks like in practice. More visuals. Stop drowning reviewers in dense paragraphs. Use diagrams. Use flow. Show them. Don't just tell them. Clearer narratives. Don't just compare your device to the predicate device in a table. Walk them through it. Here's the predicate device. Here's our device. Here's why we made this change. Here's the data supporting that decision. Less jargon. You know what LVAD stands for? You know what your proprietary coding does? They might not define everything. Better packaging. One insider said, better packaging matters. Make it easy to read, easy to navigate, easy to understand. Think about it like this. You're not writing a technical manual for an expert. You're writing a teaching document for someone intelligent who's learning about your technology for the first time. A former health authority employee said it perfectly. Reviewers and auditors will naturally take a devil's advocate position whenever information is missing or unclear. As a reviewer, I won't resort to assuming anything, even if it appears obvious. If it's not explicit, it's not reviewable. That's your new mantra. Now here's where this gets really powerful. This principle doesn't just apply to FDA submissions, it applies to your entire quality system. One quality systems director made this point in the thread. All GMP documents must be written for a person that doesn't work at the site or company. Like reading a book, you don't need the author beside you. explaining what you just read. Think about that. Your deviation investigations, your CAPA reports, your validation protocols. If someone from outside your company picked up that document, would they understand what happened? Why it happened? What you did about it? Why your solution makes sense? Or would they need you standing over their shoulder, explaining everything? Another commenter nailed it. Stop making quality play 20 questions to understand nuances. Provide context right from the start. Your records will close faster. This is about organizational efficiency, not just regulatory strategy. When your documentation is self-explanatory, audits go smoother, deviations close faster, training is easier. Knowledge transfer actually works. You rebuilding institutional knowledge that does undepend on people's heads. Now, there's one more critical piece here. This approach requires a specific kind of regulatory affairs professional. You can't just hire someone who knows the regulations. You need someone who understands both the regulatory framework and your technology deeply enough to translate between them. 1. Medical devices, leader said. MedTech companies should fully leverage their advantage. They know their device better than anyone else. This requires teams who understand both regulatory requirements and the technical details. This is your competitive advantage. Your competitor might have a faster device, but if they can't explain it clearly to the FDA, you win. The companies that are crushing it right now, they're not necessarily the ones with the best technology. They're the ones with regulatory teams that can communicate that technology clearly. They're embedding regulatory thinking early in the design process. They're documenting rationale as they go, not reverse engineering it during submission. They're treating regulatory affairs as a strategic function, not a compliance checkbox. And they're getting to market faster because of it. All right, here, S. What you need to do right now, if you have a submission in progress, pull it up. Read it as if you know nothing about your device. Where would you be confused? Add clarity there. Add visuals. Add context. If you're preparing for a submission, restructure your templates. Lead with explanation. Assume nothing. Make it easy for someone to say yes. If you're building your regulatory team, hire for translation skills, not just regulatory knowledge. Find people who can bridge technical and compliance worlds. And here's the meta lesson. The fastest path to approval isn't the most technically sophisticated submission. It's the clearest one. Teach them. Don't assume they know. Walk them through your logic. Make their job easy. Because when you make it easy for the FDA to understand your device, you make it easy for them to approve it. If this helped you, hit subscribe.